Well, folks, here we are again. This is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today. Where are you spiritually speaking? Where are you? Are you in a place where you can have good spiritual success? And by having good spiritual success, you can have good physical success? That comes by, you've got to have an attitude of can do. I love that saying, can do. I can do through Christ all things that God would have me do. We can grow by the shadow of many spiritual men of the past. You can always choose to do what God would have you to do. Choices, choices, choices. These are notes that I made. Influence of those men that have been godly men that you've known in your life. When I got saved in 1972, November 5th, 3 o'clock in the morning, I went that very Sunday. Why did I go to the church that I went to? I used to pass it every Sunday. I'd get my case of beer and I'd head down to the beach. And I'd let my kids go swimming. My wife would lay around and I'd sit there and get soused. And we'd pass a church. And I used to say this, very, very, very actual fact, what I used to say. If I ever get saved and go to a church, that's the church I'll go to. It was always packed. It was a little bitty church, but it was always packed out and everything. Little old block building. And God had me go there. And God had me be a helper there to build the building that's there right now. A very nice building, a very big building. And we have built that. And so you can always choose to do what God would have you to do. Choices, choices, choices. And that's what it comes down to. These kind of men, exemplary, that have the Holy Spirit living in them, and they spiritually live. Now, Brother Ralph Taylor was not a wealthy man. He never drew a big salary. He drew a very meager preacher's salary during those years in the 60s, 70s, or whatever. Average people didn't think the preacher ought to live like they do. They could make $30,000 a year back in that time, but they thought the preacher ought to live on 10. So they were careful. They'd say, well, he doesn't work. I get out and work with my muscles and everything. I get out and work. I do all this and that, and all he does is study a little bit and read. They don't know it, but his work was 10 times harder than their work. A little physical work is nothing compared to some spiritual work you do. You get in the Bible and you start studying. You stand up before 40, 50, 60 people, 100 people, and have a message for them every week. And not only that, standing up there looking at them, and them looking at you. Some of them looking at their watch and looking at you. And some of them saying, will he ever shut up? Will he ever get done? They didn't come to church to grow. They just came to church to mingle and gossip in the vestibule and do something. But when it came time to sit down and hear the word that the preacher has worked 30 hours putting it together to give you, and you act disrespectful to him. But spiritually, mentally thinking. In Philippians 2 and 5, it said, let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. Let that mind be in you. And Peter, he said, gird up your mind. Just like you'd gird up your loins. Gird up your mind. And let it be the first thing in you. Let it be the first thing is renewing the mind. Put the old man down, the old natural stuff down, and renew your mind. In 2 Corinthians, casting down old and wise tales and stuff, and get into a brand new. Break down the Bible for yourself and listen to it and read it. And find out in Ephesians it said, Put away the old nature by renewing your mind into a new nature, and have a new nature in your mind. 2 Corinthians 10:5, casting down imaginations. That which is Christ, put it on. Put on that which is Christ. The positive, and you've got to be positive to put in a replacement in your mind. If you take something out, you got to put something in. We've got a lot of empty-headed Christians running around. They say, well, I got by that. I took that out. I took this out. I took that out. Well, what did you put in its place? Nothing? So you're running around with an empty head and an empty heart, and you don't have anything to say to anybody, anything to do. You haven't anything to pass on. You won't even pass on a tract. Just take a tract out and say, sir, let me give you this. It tells you how to be saved. I picked this one up a little while ago, and by the way, this one right here happens to be several years old. Several years old, about 12 or 15 years old. And it's been changed since then. Positive replacement of the mind. You have to positively set out to replace that which you take out of your mind and put something good in there, and not be an empty head. The Bible says to put the mind of Christ in there in Colossians 3:2, and think about things above. Things above. It's time to get up. That's my alarm, 4:45. It's time to get up. Of course, I beat it by a couple hours, but that's all right. And so we're supposed to put this mind of Christ in there, and we have a certain way of thinking now, a new way of thinking compared to what we used to think about the bad news. I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV now in over maybe a year and a half since I watched television. Don't watch it at all. Don't turn it on. I use my TV set, and I use videos and all kinds of things as Christian stuff, and I watch them on there, and bird pictures. I watch things on there that are not satanic or have anything to do with Satan or the world system, and the news of today is nothing but disaster. Disaster. Avoid bad news. Gird up your loins. Renew your mind. Think only positive thoughts. Remember, the devil is seeking to destroy you. When did I write these notes? A year or two ago. And they're still just as prevalent today as when I wrote them. We are supposed to direct our minds and put them on Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the Son of God, who came down and gave his life for us. The least we could do is keep our minds on him. We need to commit our decisions in a Christian manner. We need to be conscious of renewing our minds on a daily basis. You can't do it watching television. You'd have to do it after every program if you did it. You can get so stinking thinking watching TV that you can't get any good thinking in between the stinking thinking. You go right from one program to another, and all of them are stinking thinking. I'm not against football, but when it's your religion, I don't think there's going to be any football in hell. I really don't believe there's going to be football in hell. And when you get there, you'll be there forever, and you'll never see another football game. So if you put your football ahead of Christ, you need to weigh your life and see, am I really saved? What is salvation? That makes me Christ-like. Am I really Christ-like? Or am I worldly? Football games are on Sunday. Am I going to stay and watch this football game or go to church? Am I going to have a bunch of guys over and they like to drink a little beer, so we'll just have a little beer in the house, and you've got kids and they say, my daddy says he's a Christian, but they drink beer. My daddy said they're Christian, but they sit around, drink beer and smoke and talk, don't go to church on Sunday, watch football. What do you think that kid's going to do? You're responsible. Continuous renewing of the mind. Continuously putting the old past away and renewing your mind in new daily, hourly, minute by minute. Everything needs to become new minute by minute. You can't live on the past. Isaiah 30:15. Quietness. In quietness. Boy, there is no quietness in the world today. A man gets in his car, turns the key on, he turns the radio up. Listening to whatever's on there. I turn my radio on too. My radio stays on. It's on a Christian station, and I hear either preaching, teaching, or singing, Christian singing. What you feed your mind is what you become. You've heard that old saying when the computer first came out. You used to hear that saying a whole lot. Garbage in, garbage out. You put garbage in, you get garbage out. Whatever you put in that computer is what you're going to get out of it. You put garbage in it, you're going to get garbage out of it. Do you know there is a sensation in life that some people like? And that sensation is doing nothing. To do nothing. You say, well, what'd you do this week? I didn't do anything. Well, this is Sunday. You were here last Sunday. But between Sunday to Sunday, you didn't do anything? No, I didn't do nothing. I just sat around, slept, lazed around, and did nothing. Smoked my cigarettes, and did nothing. What good are you? Why would God come along and bless you and make your life be absolutely good and all that if you're a do-nothing person? We got to do something. We're looking for guidance from God, and we get that from the Bible. And we get that from church services. And we get that from studying. And we get that from talking to other people. You know, we're climbing a hill. You know what I see in the world today? I see people climbing the hill of discouragement. They are climbing, digging hard, the hill of discouragement. Oh, I'm putting my money. Oh, I'm working hard. And then we got us a bad habit. Whew. I see it. It kills me to see it. A person leaves the house. They leave too early. They hadn't had breakfast at home, and they got a family. And they run by McDonald's. And they run a credit card. And they eat a breakfast they could have ate at home with a couple of eggs and a piece of toast for a few pennies. And they just ran up a bill of $10 or more for breakfast. Every day. Every day, every day, every day, every day. Hey, figure it out. A lot of people don't make as much money as they run on their card every day. What are they doing? They're climbing the hill of discouragement. Because there's coming a day when it's going to be reckoned, and when it is, they're not going to be able to meet the need. And I hear them all the time. I hear people say all the time, hey, Pete, pray for me. I'm fixing to lose my house. Well, you've been making that for a long time. You've been climbing that hill a long time. You finally got on top of it. And now you're going to lose your house. What would get you out? Well, it'd probably take $30,000 right now because I got my debt. Well, you can eat $30,000 worth of breakfasts if you're not careful. And usually the person that does that for breakfast is going to do it for dinner. And nowadays we got people out there that just, they don't even think about it. They don't think about there's behind that slide in that car, there's a day of reckoning coming. And then we got a lot of people right now that live on the hill of doubt. They're climbing the hills of doubt. Well, what's it going to be like tomorrow morning? Well, I doubt it's going to be a good day. I doubt anything good will come out this week. No, you go on that doubt route, and that's one you'll stay on. And you'll be the doubting guy in the job, and everybody says, man, don't talk with him, he's a doubter. And then you got the hill of self. I see a lot of people today, they climb in that hill of self. It's all about me. Yeah, all about me. I ain't interested in him, or her, or them. I'm making my way here. I want my new car. I want my nice garage. I want my grass mowed good. Anybody spits on my lawn, I'm going to have them arrested. And the mailman better not touch my mailbox more than just I'm going to put my mail in there. And all of this stuff, it's all about self, all about me. Well, that guy's going to find out one day that he wasn't as great as he thought he was. And he's going to come to this. And then we have the hill of human advice. Boy, I've seen those. They come. Matter of fact, they bug the preacher slack to death at the church on Sunday. They'll come down and they want human advice, and all he has to give them is spiritual advice. They don't want spiritual advice. They want human advice. And human advice won't work without spiritual advice. You have to be spiritually advised in order to climb the hill of the human advice. And so, God is a friend of silence. Did you know that? God is a friend of silence. Just meditation. He says, meditate on me day and night. Meditate on me day and night. Silence of meditation. God knows the mind and the heart of the Christian man. A man that says, Christ, I am a sinner. Forgive me of my sin, commit my heart, save my soul. Bam, you are connected. It's just like plugging in with this computer. You can plug something else in and say, I'm connecting this device to this computer. And all the time that computer's on, it recognizes that device at any moment, given moment. It recognizes that device. And that's what God is. When your mind is thinking of Him. I spoke a little while ago in an excerpt about Jairus coming to Jesus, and he said, my daughter's sick. But by the time we got there, she'd be dead. So we don't need to walk it. All you have to is say the word. And Jesus said the word. And it was done. And that's the way it is. We have that kind of connection with Jesus. We are connected all the time. Quietness produces strength. I sit at my desk over here and in quietness and study and learn and study and learn, and it produces strength. And that's something we need. We need that strength. Assurance. Strength brings assurance that Jesus is listening, that He is there. Have you ever been? I've been in my car before, in my truck, and I'm going down the road and I'm praising the Lord and talking, and I might turn on a preacher and listen to some good preaching, and bam, I'm hitting the top of the car with my fist. Bam, I'm hitting it. That, man, this is good. Wow, people think I'm crazy riding down the road having a fit. But in the quietness of time too, sometimes I do that. And God is so good. Isaiah 40:28. He giveth, it says, they that wait on Him, that wait on the Lord, will renew their strength. They that call on the Lord will renew their strength. How close are you to Jesus? Do you let him know you're thinking of him when you get in your car? Do you let him know you're thinking of him when you're driving down the road? Do you pray? Do you say, Lord, I'm driving down the road. How about putting a couple angels on front of this car and direct me, give me some guidance? And so, how close are you to God? Are you close enough so that He sees you all the time? He's looking at you when you're at work. He's looking at you when you're at play. He's looking at you when you're walking or when you're running. He's looking at you when you're sleeping. Are you connected? Isaiah is full of promises. Isaiah, God tells us that He will always take care of us. Always. Even when we're wrong, He'll show us that. And that's taking care of you. My daddy one time was visiting, and he turned the corner left on a street that you could only go right on. And he found himself facing traffic. 2 ways of traffic coming at him. The only thing he could do is pull over and wait till the opportunity came, turn around and get going the right way. And so we have to be careful that we're not going against God, or we're not going the wrong way. We need to make sure that we get turned around and that we're pointed in the right place, so that we don't end up in a problem that we can't answer. Now, a lot of folks, I've heard them, they say, well, I'm going to so-and-so, he's an educated psychiatrist. Well, God can take care of that. You can go to God. He can do that. Or you're going to a financial advisor, which I walked into one time, and I spoke with him, and he said to me, who do you owe? I said, I don't know anybody. Well, he said, you have a car? And I said, yeah. He said, well, do you owe one? And I said, no. Do you have a house? I said, yeah. How much it worth? I told him. He said, do you owe one? I said, I don't owe anything on it. Well, he said, I'm a financial advisor. Why are you coming to me if you don't owe anybody anything and you're already set? And I said, well, I got this little bit of money. I had $20,000, which, being a poor man, $20,000 made me think I was rich. He said, I don't have any advice for you. He said, you've already got it made. You've already got it. He said, you are in the top 1% of the whole United States, or even in the world maybe. 1% of people can say what you're saying right now. That you have enough to eat, you have a little money, and you don't have any debt. And he said, that's the best place you could be. And you know why I'm there? Because God has the answer. God has made the answer for me. And He taught me through the years to live in my means. Don't live beyond my means. You would not believe it. I don't carry a credit card. Not one. Not even one. No credit card whatsoever. Well, if I can't do it that day, or I can't afford to eat a hot dog that day, I don't eat a hot dog that day. If I had to go to fast food restaurants and eat all my meals, I'd look like the people that do that. They're not healthy. I can show you people that weigh 300 pounds plus that eat in fast food restaurants every day. We can grow. We started this out. How do we grow? We can grow spiritually by following men of the past that were spiritual. You can always choose to find a good representation of something that you want to do, or go, or what you want to, and how you want to end up. We have many, many books out there today that we can make the choice to get good books, or we can make the choice to get something trashy. I have hundreds of good books by good men. God allowed me through my little old painter's life. I was a painter, and you ever meet a painter that was any good? Very few. Very few. We as painters generally were like I was before I got saved, alcoholic, drunk, worked to drink. I did have a family, and I did work because of my bringing up in the New England states. I knew I had to take care of my family. I was taught that. So I worked 2 jobs. I gave my wife the check from the regular job, 8 hours a day. And I went out in the evening and worked 3 or 4 hours every evening and get enough money to buy alcohol with and drink it. I justified myself because I took care of my family and was drunk too. And so I justified myself because of that. But that wasn't a good way to be. And that was not the proper way to be, but that's the way I was. My wife put up with it. One day she told me, she said, when you come home and you fall out of that truck, I ain't dragging you in the house. I'm going to leave you there. It was on November day. It was November. A November day. I pulled in there and fell out of the truck. She just let me lay there that night. The rest of the night. I like to froze to death. I learned a lesson. I had to come home sober enough to get in the house. And not thinking about it, when you look back at it, you say, how did you drive home? I don't know how I drove home. I have no idea how I drove home any night. All I can say is God must have really been looking out for a fool, and I was one. And so I had to do that. Look, spiritually, mentally, thinking. We need to think mentally, we need to think spiritually, and have clean thinking. This mind that Jesus gave me when He erased my old one and gave me a new mind, I've had to learn how to use it, how to think with it, and what to do. And He's gave me a renewed body. I'm 77 years old right now, standing here before you. And I had my heart checked a couple of weeks ago, and doctor said I got a heart of a 50-year-old. And so things are good there. I've got some extremities inside that's giving me a little lung trouble right now because I have picked up some kind of bug. But other than that, I'm fit as a fiddle. And God has made it that way. Hey, at 30 years old, I was smoking 4 packs a day. I couldn't hardly breathe. I coughed all the time, spit up stuff and everything, and lived that life, burnt a candle both ends in the middle with alcohol and everything else, and spent half of my life buying stuff that I didn't need, putting it in my body, and God saw me through that. And from 30 to 60, I got better and better and better. And from 60 to 77, I've even got more healthy. And I'm right now on a fruit diet. I'm eating, I haven't today, as far as I can remember right now, I didn't even chew a stick of gum. I haven't put 1 drop of sugar in my mouth today, not 1 drop of sugar. And that's been my big downfall. I like sugar. I like sugar in my coffee. Well, drinking coffee is not good for you either. And so putting sugar in is even worse. And so I've cut all that sugar down now. For 2 or 3 days I haven't had a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm doing well. I'm doing well. These things here are shrinking on the side when I stand in the mirror and look at them. They're shrinking. They're going down daily. And that's what I want to see. Well, look, God has blessed me. He'll bless you. You get a hold of the Lord, you follow Him. You get in His way. Renew your mind, renew your heart, and think about Jesus, and He'll take you through wherever you need to go. He'll do for you what He's done for me. And that old song, what he's done for others, he'll do for you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.